Oh, for those of you who are in Sunday school this morning, you know what that was about. But I'll tell you a little story to open this morning, just so you know why we all decided to stare at Pastor. We found out, I've known Pastor my entire life. He is my father. And we found out a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, that he cannot stand to be stared at. We found this out, and it was funny. We were in the 7-night revival at the end of August, and we had prayer Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, and then Wednesday night, prayer was supposed to be before service from 6 to 6:45 in the prayer room. Pastor said, no, I want to go ahead and move that to the sanctuary. We're good with that. We moved it all to the sanctuary. Well, at 6:45, Pastor Kevin comes upstairs. I was in a meeting, and he comes upstairs and said, your dad is in a full-out panic. I said, why? He said, because there's nobody on the platform. He doesn't have any music. He doesn't have anything. He's in a full-on panic. And I look at my watch, and it's 6:45. I said, well, we have 15 minutes before church starts. Why is he panicking? He goes, I don't know, but you need to get down there. So I run down here. When I come in, Pastor's got the microphone, and he's preaching. 15 minutes before church starts, he's preaching. And so it kind of threw our service in a little bit of a whack, and we had to kind of catch up, and we had a long DVD we were playing that night. We played catch up. It all worked out. Well, the next day, or a few days later, we were all picking on him about him panicking and why he didn't stick to the plan. And at 6:45, just in prayer, and we'll move into service at 7. And he said, when I got up from praying on that platform, I turned around, and there was 100 people staring at me. He said they were looking at me, Chance. He said, I didn't know what to do. And so we kind of let that go, you know. It was a funny situation. Well, then he gave it away again. A few weeks ago, he was preaching and talked about how he was weeping over a pulpit in his first pastorate, and he was laid over the pulpit weeping, and he said he looked out. There was 100 people staring at him. He said, I was going to tender my resignation. So pastor cannot stand to be stared at in silence. If you ever want to bother him, just walk up to him and just don't say a word. Just stare at him. We love our pastor, and that's why we are here today, to honor our pastor and our first lady. I have a great relationship with them. As I said, he's my father. For those of you of guests who may not know, he's my father, and of course she's my mother. So I'm her favorite. I'm her favorite in this whole world. I'm mama's baby. 30 years old, have no problem going to her house and sitting in her lap. When I go to their house, I have no problem walking in unannounced, whether they know I'm coming or not. They've got this new thing at their house. When you open the door, a little thing goes doo-doo. I'm pretty sure that's just because of me. Because I just walk in. I'm here. I'm home. But today, we want to honor our pastor, and I'm going to be taking a text from Isaiah chapter 62, verse 6. I'm not going to preach very long. I don't even know if you'll call what I do today preaching. But I pray that you just get with me this morning, because I had to lie to Pastor about this message just a few minutes ago. He pulled me up here and he said, you're not preaching about me, are you? Because I'm tired of hearing about me. I said, no, I'm not going to preach about you today. But if you just would stand for one verse of Scripture, Isaiah 62:6 says, I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night. Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence. God bless you. You may be seated. Thank you for standing in reverence to the reading of the word. So today I'm here not only to bring you the word, but to magnify the office of pastor, especially our pastor. There are many descriptions of the pastor throughout the word of God. In Exodus, he's God's mouthpiece. In Deuteronomy, he's the man of God. In Psalms, he's the under-shepherd. In Ecclesiastes, he's the preacher. In Daniel, he's the seer of the mysteries of God. In Jeremiah, he's the weeping prophet. In Malachi, he's the messenger. John calls him the friend of the bridegroom, and Acts records him as the overseer of the church. In Corinthians, he's the minister of the gospel. In Ephesians, he is the pastor. In Titus, he is the servant of God. And in Revelation, he is the angel of the church. Now, I could take any one of those titles, and I could preach as long as I wanted to preach about the man that sits before you today and the lady who is at his right hand. I could take any one of those titles and do an entire sermon, but there was one that I skipped over and that I really wanted to use this morning, and it's the one that we use in our text found in Isaiah, the watchman on the wall. The watchman, he is the one who keeps watch over the people of God. He is the prayer warrior who is spiritually responsible for our well-being. I want to really focus on what I just said. Please understand the responsibility that goes with the office of pastor. You wonder why we take a month out and we celebrate pastor appreciation as if it were a holiday or something, and we take this month and we celebrate this the ministry, and I am thankful for everything that every card. Thank you so much for everything you have given my wife and I throughout this month. Thank you for the video. We found out that I am bald, but I have a little peach fuzz on top of my head. I am so thankful. I'm thankful for Brother Kevin. I'm thankful for Sister Suzanne and all that they do. But you have to understand that you cannot love Brother Kevin and Sister Suzanne, and you cannot love myself and my wife if you do not love our pastor. Because our sole calling at this time in our ministry is to prop up and to assist the man who is the shepherd of this church. That goes for every leader in this church, every Sunday school teacher. That goes for every youth worker. That goes for every volunteer and every staff member. We reflect this man. This man has poured into us, and this woman has poured into us. And I really want to just drive home the fact, the spiritual responsibility that this man has in our lives. We think that sometimes we kind of think that he just gets up here and preaches on Sundays and Wednesdays. That's not what a pastor is. That's a preacher in your life. But this man of God has poured into us every Sunday and every Wednesday. He pours his heart out in this pulpit. But more than just pouring his heart out in this pulpit, he's a man of God in this community. He has a great reputation for his character and his commitment to this community. If you ask anybody, whether they're a member of this church or not, ask one individual what sticks out about Reverend Zell Lewis, and if they know him, they'll say one word: real. How many of you ever heard that when describing pastor? He's real. He's real. He puts on his blue jeans and his cowboy boots, a smile on his face, and he walks out there and he goes over to the barbecue pit when he's supposed to be moving tables and chairs, and he talks. He's real. There's many opinions about how a pastor should spend his time. I was researching some stuff because I was a little curious, and I come across a survey that was done years ago, and it broke down what a pastor's duties were and how much time the pastor should spend on each and every one of his duties. And it was things like hospital visitation, prayer for the sick, praying in his personal time, personal devotion, Bible study. It was visiting shut-ins. I mean, just every duty that we think a pastor should have. It was saints of God who just, wrote out, here's what his duties are and here's how much time he should spend on them. Now, by the time they were done listing the pastor's duties and the time that he should spend on each of those things, the pastor had time for one 30-minute meal a day and about 2.5 hours of sleep at night. Because they had it so, his list was so extensive. It was a list that if I was to lay on you at your job, you'd say, I quit. I'm going to go find somewhere else to work. But that's what we hold our pastor to. This is what he should do. And we have it in our minds that this is what he's supposed to do. And many, sadly, have walked away from God and walked away from this very church because a pastor did not perform or conform to what they thought he should. Didn't fit the mold that they thought he should fit, didn't preach the way they thought he should preach, and didn't do the things that they thought he should do. And the truth of the matter is that this man that sits before you today is sadly not called to suit our fancies. He's not called to do it the way I think he should do it. He's not called to do it the way you think he should do it. He was not called to give to our every whim and to preach what we think he should preach and to preach what we want him to preach and preach what we want to hear. That's not what he's called to do. This man of God was called to get you and I to heaven. He was called to be a watchman on the wall and to make sure that God's people in DeRidder are safe. He was called, as Noah was, to build a safe place. And sometimes building a safe place means that you have to step out of what is conventional. And in building a safe place, Noah had to do something that had never been done before. And Noah probably offended some people with his message and his prophecies that it was going to rain and that if you weren't on the ark, you were going to die. I imagine some people were offended, but Noah had a calling on his life, and so he worked every single day on his ark. I thank God today for our watchman who is willing to do whatever it takes to make sure we're on the right path. Brother Kevin alluded to it this morning, and I want to point out again that if you come on a family prayer night, you will hear our watchman on his knees at this front pew right here calling out the names of the people in this church. Calling out the leadership, calling out family members. If you want to know where your pastor's heart is, you can go into that prayer room and you'll see envelopes lined up down an altar that are lists of backsliders out of this church that he prays for daily, that he had us all as a church walk by and anoint. Why? Because he wants to see the entire city of DeRidder saved. I've heard him call your names. I've heard him call your children's names. I've heard him call wayward saints' names. I've sat in meetings where he pours out his burden for the backslidden saints in this community, and I've watched how with grace he has handled backslidden saints on our very pews, and I am thankful for our watchmen. You see, in a world that is run by the politically correct and a culture that is easily offended, everything offends us now. I watched something the other day, and I probably should not point this out. But usually when I think, Chance, you shouldn't say that, it makes me want to say it even more. I had a person send me a video the other day, and it was, I'm pretty sure it was a female. But she purposely did not want you to know she was a female. And her entire speech was on how she would never be defined as a male or a female, that she was non-binary. And she could be defined as however she wanted to be defined. I watched that, and the first time I watched it several times because I needed to make sure she was what she was saying. I don't know what to call. She's non-binary. I hate to say it, that sounds disrespectful. But she doesn't want to be a she doesn't want to be a he, I don't know. What the person was saying on the screen was that however you feel you should be defined is how you can define yourself. And the man who sent me the video said, I guess if you feel sheepish, you can define as a sheep. That's the world that we live in today. You can't say certain things, and you can't point out this, and you can't point out that. You can't define right or wrong anymore because the people who are on the wrong side are offended. And I don't know about you, but I don't want a pastor that's going to tickle my ears. I want a pastor that will help me navigate through life and make it to heaven. And I don't know about you, but I'm not looking for someone to make me feel good about myself and feel good about the wrong that I'm doing. I'm looking for someone who will speak to my heart and who will get my attention when my attention needs to be got. If you want to know on this Pastor Appreciation Day, the best gift you can give your pastor is you. If you want to give him a gift that he really desires, then let pastor be pastor in your life. I'll clap for myself on that one. That's a good one. We live in a generation that does not desire to be pastored. We live in a generation that don't want to be taught right from wrong. We don't want to know that what we're doing is wrong. As long as you preach the real good, feel good. Preach something on faith. Preach something on praise. Preach something that makes me feel good about myself, Pastor. I don't want you to meddle in my life. Don't preach on sin. Don't preach against things. Because I might be, you may accidentally touch on one of those things that I do, and then you call it sin, and now I'm offended. I love the fact that we'll go to pastor with a message that we've made of our lives and then blame him. We go to pastor with a mess. Look at this. My marriage is in shambles. Look what all this is. And pastor says, well, you committed adultery. Well, how dare you? This is all your fault. You would be amazed at the amount of people that walk away from God because of a pastor that offended them. Now, I do know there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. I'm still young and I'm still learning. Sometimes I bullhead and I do it the wrong way. Pastor is my pastor and he's teaching me there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. But we are in a generation, and it's getting worse and worse and worse as the days go by, of young men and young women who are being raised on a pew that do not have any desire to be pastored. Mom and dad, the best thing you can do for your kids is say whatever pastor says goes in this house. That's the absolute best thing you can do for your kids. I'll just move on. Sometimes we adopt the mindset that our pastor just steps up here and preaches on Sundays and Wednesdays, but the truth is his job is 24/7. He is more than just a preacher. He's a man of God that was sent to us, that was sent here to get us and our families to heaven. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather go to heaven offended than I would go to hell comfortable. Pastor, if you need to, you're welcome to offend me. And he has. Oh, don't think Pastor's never offended me. If Pastor pastored you the way he pastors me, you probably done left this church. You probably done went that one across town. Pastor tells me all the time, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I asked him one time, I said, would you tell another saint that was dumb? He goes, I probably wouldn't say it quite like that. But Pastor, I would much rather go to heaven offended than I would go to hell comfortable. We can't buy into this thing today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meant to be up here just for him today, but I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, we cannot buy into our culture's comfortable religion. God is not a good, we always say, well, God is a God of comfort. Yes, he's a God of comfort and he's a God of peace, but not this comfort that we're talking about where we go live how we want to live and then go to church and we're all saved. That's not the message that's in my Bible. I don't know what Bible you're reading. You may be in a different Bible, but in my Bible, that's not the message that Jesus preached. You see, if you want a real pastor, then a pastor's got to be a Christian, which is Christ-like. And there's not many people who could have been in Jesus' church. I ain't going to talk about what I talked about last time, how he said, well, Jesus hung out with the sinners. I hope that those of you who weren't here, I'll just give you a little tidbit. Yes, Jesus hung out with the sinners, but when the sinner walked away from Jesus, he walked away changed. He didn't continue in his sin. He walked away changed. And we've got to stop coming to church and walking away unchanged. I've sat in the office with our pastor with tears in his eyes saying, I'm tired of people walking out our back doors unchanged. Every Sunday we should come here and get better. Every Sunday we should come here and worship harder. Every Sunday our praise and worship services should just get bigger and better every Sunday. Our prayer services should get bigger and better every Sunday. We should have more miracles every Sunday during our healing service, because what we're doing every single Sunday is we're practicing for what's going to happen over there. And if you can't get uncomfortable here, then you're going to be really uncomfortable over there. I want a pastor who's going to preach my family into heaven, no matter if I want to hear it or I don't want to hear it. I want a pastor that's going to get me there. I want a pastor who's going to tell me what I need to hear. I don't want a real good, feel-good religious excitement center on Sunday. I want my kids to be saved. I'm thankful today for our Watchman. We are a blessed people to have this man and this woman as our shepherds. We are a blessed people to have this Watchman on the wall who's looking out for us, praying for us, preaching to us. He's a man with a heart the size of Texas, a man who loves the Word of God and absolutely loves the people of God, a man who preaches truth no matter how unpopular it might be, a man who cannot whisper no matter how hard he wants to, and a man who hates to be stared at, a man who never meets a stranger, a man who wants to see all of the city of DeRidder saved and who will not rest until it happens. He's a man of God. He is the angel of this church. He is our Watchman. And I ask if you could stand with me this morning and give him one more round of applause, because we are privileged to call him our pastor. You may be seated. My remarks were purposefully short this morning. I'm done. The difference between me and our pastor is when I say I'm going to be short, I really am. And in closing, that got your number up there. What we're going to do this morning is, not only is this Pastor Appreciation Month, but it falls perfectly. Pastor's birthday was last Tuesday. Sister Karen, if you'll get ready on the keyboard, you know we're going to sing it. The good one, not just happy birthday, the good one. But if our ushers would come, we are sending them to the ranch and day spa for their pastor appreciation. But we also want to give Pastor a good birthday offering this morning. So we're asking our ushers to come forward. Don't feel like you're obligated to give. Don't feel like you're obligated to give all that he's worth, because we can't. It's like I told Brother Kevin last week. We can't give you all that we're worth, but we can try to make a step forward toward it. We're giving Pastor a birthday offering. This is aside from Pastor Appreciation, and let me tell you why, because this would never be said if I didn't say it. Every staff member here that has a birthday, we get a good birthday bonus. And our birthday bonus doesn't come from the church. It comes from Pastor's personal account. He gives it out of his pocket so that we can have a good birthday bonus. I'm pretty sure all of our bonuses pretty much come from Pastor's pocket, because he loves his staff and he loves this church. So we want to give to you. I thought about giving you your bonus from my pocket, but I thought you'd want more than a Happy Meal for your birthday. So I wish I could use my personal account, but the bank won't let me right now. Maybe early next month. My wife says that every time we write a check, don't cash that till next month. But we want to give Pastor a good birthday offering this morning. So whatever you can do, we appreciate it. And ushers, you go ahead and take up Pastor's birthday offering. And as you're taking up Pastor's birthday offering, I purposely did not let him have the microphone. We're going to let him say a few words because he wants to thank everybody for Pastor Appreciation. Let me tell you what's going to happen after Pastor's done. We're going to do what we try to do every year. Pastor and Sister Lewis are going to come stand at the front, and we're going to do a receiving line so that you can come and greet Pastor. Just shake his hand, hug him. We ask, I know you want to stand here and tell him how much you appreciate him, but if we all stood here and told him how much he's worth and how much we appreciate him, none of you would make the buffet for lunch. So what we want to do, and I'm taking Pastor on a hunting trip as soon as church is over for his birthday and Pastor Appreciation. He's actually taking me, but I can take credit. I got the microphone. So to just kind of hurry it along, we ask that you just shake, hug, and tell him how you love. Don't tell him how much. It'll take forever. Tell him you love him, and then try to move on, because we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. I said this in the staff meeting this morning. It's terrible. I said we're going to have to do it like a funeral. We're going to start over here, let this take down all the way across to this aisle and around, and then out that door. Is that okay with everybody? Pastor and Sister Lewis. Pastor, if you would come say a few words, and then we'll direct the church on your receiving line.
And in closing, from here, and I do mean that, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being you. Because as much as all of these kind words have been said, and I don't deserve this, but we are a church family. And the reason why we've been able to accomplish the things we have is because we are a family. You are my friends, and I love you deeply and dearly. And yeah, I'm getting a little grayer. I think one of the children said it between gray and white. Y'all caught that too, didn't you? And yeah, one of them said he's bald. Another one said he's got hair around the sides. We are aging together, and God has blessed us together. And I heard a song just stayed with me. It was a secular song. I'll go ahead and admit it. It was by an artist, an aged artist of the past, and the song's title was "Let's Grow Old Together." I came home, I'd listened to it and heard it on late night travel. I'd been to a hospital visit or something. I come home and I woke my wife up. I said, hey, I want to sing you a song while it's on my mind. And I sang it to her, what little bit I can remember. I said, let's grow old together. And I can't think of anything I'd rather do than us grow old together, if we have to. Now, everybody knows that the rapture's not far removed, and if we don't grow old together, let's go to heaven together. Let's do that. Amen. Thank you, son, for a tremendous message that was not supposed to be about me. I thought we understood an understanding on that. Thank you for every card that they've been coming in the mail daily. Your kind words, the food.